Welcome. In this video, we're going to be looking at some tips for beginners to get better at programming. I was a beginner too, and I feel like if I share my mistakes with you, you won't repeat them and get stuck in the same way that I did. It is important to learn from your own mistakes, but also you often don't have the time to make all the mistakes yourself, and so it is really important to learn from other people as well. So, I'm hoping that by talking about some of my erroneous methods, you will be able to gauge what to do and what not to do and then optimize your learning process. With that being said, let's get started. Number zero, just start coding. You're going to be like, oh, Saranya, that's such an amazing tip. Why had I not thought of it before? But stay calm, please hold your horses, don't be upset. My idea of telling you this is to not simply look at tutorials, but to actually accomplish some work when you're watching them. Don't simply look at tutorials because they won't help you much if you're just seeing them or if you're not coding alongside them or implementing things when the instructor asks you to. This is because you won't be able to retain a lot of the information. This sounds like the most elementary thing, but I made this mistake a lot. I would watch an entire video that was a little more theoretical than practical, like database designing. And after watching the entire video, I would think, oh, okay, I have gotten all the concepts. But then after 2 weeks, I couldn't remember anything. So I had to rewatch the video. But if I had made notes in the first place, I would have saved a lot of time. Or if I would take screenshots, it would be a little difficult to understand why certain steps had been written the way they had and not implemented the way that I was thinking that they should have been implemented in. So, code more, code alongside. Number one, take up simpler things. Again, you might scoff at this tip, but I think it's a pretty valuable point. As a beginner, if you straight away jump to really complex stuff like blockchain development or machine learning without even knowing the basics of coding or logic building, it is going to be extremely difficult to grasp what is going on. At least, in my opinion, you should be picking something more beginner friendly and not deep learning, even though you might be interested in it, because it would take you a very long time to be actually able to implement something, and you might lose interest if you weren't interested in the particular thing from the start as it is. We don't want to get demotivated by looking at the vast amount of information that there is to cover and then feel like we're never going to be good enough to become a software engineer. We're going to build our way upwards and get to the top of the mountain. Number two, follow a structured plan. Don't jump from video to video, especially if it's the first time that you're learning to code. Pick one course where the instructor is not going to assume that you already have some prior knowledge about coding and they're going to teach everything from the ground up. For this continuity or flow of content, it is a little better to take paid courses. Go on Udemy, take a 400 or 500 rupee course and follow it till the end. There is always some kind of sale or offer going on Udemy. So even though the price of the course might be advertised something like 6,000 rupees, you will be able to get it at a tenth of the cost. If you don't have the finances for that too, you can watch free YouTube videos, or there is also a way to take Coursera courses and Udemy courses for free. Drop a comment if you'd like to know how to do that. So don't be haphazard in your methods and follow a complete structure. Number three, maintain consistency. Draw up a proper schedule and try to follow it religiously. This is especially important for people who are learning to code on the side. Maybe you have a full-time job or a family to take care of, and if the material that you're learning is not evenly spaced out, it will be very difficult for you to maintain that kind of consistency. For example, if you're learning the language Python and you don't practice for a month, and when you come back a month later, all the syntax has been just wiped off your head. Now, it's going to set you about a week back because you have to constantly look up things on the internet while coding, and that is going to create a lot more resistance. Hence, it will just consume more of your time. Coding every day will keep things fresh in your head and have a quicker access to them. Number four, join a community. You are going to get stuck and you will need help. It is one of the most frustrating things as a beginner where in the course that you're taking, the instructor does not explain something or you run into a major obstacle and you're not able to continue forward and there is no one to ask help for. You would benefit a lot if you knew someone really experienced or preferably at least a little more experienced than you. Could be a CS graduate next door or online communities. If you're a college student, there are going to be a lot of technical clubs in your college and you should totally join them. That is a great way to network with seniors and to find people with similar interests apart from polishing your technical skills. If you're not in college, you can try joining Discord communities of popular people who preach on the internet about stuff that you're interested in. For example, Blue Learn is an amazing community that I found to be very useful when I was just starting to begin with college. It's a community of super motivated college students just trying to make it. Or you could even join discords of popular YouTubers. The one that comes to my mind is Tech with Tim. They have an amazing Discord and they host regular competitions over there. And there are just many examples that can follow. Number 5, enjoy the process. Programming is very difficult. It does take a lot of time to get acquainted with everything. Don't beat yourself up for it. Instead, try to celebrate the small victories. Your code got compiled in the first try? Great! That calls for an ice cream. You finished a tutorial of about 3 hours? That is massive. Go for a barbecue dinner. Number 6, use lightweight IDEs. These are to be installed instead of heavy code editors, which are not very beginner friendly. It is often very confusing if you've recently installed an IDE and you have to use it and you have no idea how to do it. I would do this a lot. If the instructor used Sublime Text, I would install Sublime Text and follow the tutorial like that. If a YouTube video had Visual Studio Code used, I would install it and then follow the tutorial like that as well. This may not be the most beneficial thing to do for a beginner because it has the potential to confuse you a lot. My recommendation would be to just install one IDE and go with it. Don't overthink it and learn how to use it to its complete extent. Number 7, learn to read documentation. This is a really good habit to build, and habits are a lot easier to build when you follow through with them right from the start. Documentation is what the creators of the language release for the general public to understand how their language works, how to use their technology, and what are applications it might have. I personally do not know how to read documentation at all, and that is a habit that I am trying to get into. Last but not the least, number 8, invest in a good machine. Being a beginner in itself is extremely frustrating and you do not want to fight against your device. It would be quite demotivating if you had a PC or a laptop that was just very slow, had constantly and executed all programs at a snail's pace. If your machine is working against you or making you work harder than you should have, it is going to demotivate you a lot. You would not be as interested in trying to practice the skill or technology that you have picked up and give up in the end. We don't want that. If you have the finances for it, invest in a good machine, which is not only going to make your work easier, but also going to make you more excited to code. I faced a similar problem when I had a really old laptop. It was really slow and it made me not want to code at all. But as soon as the new one came in, it's like I couldn't stay away from it. This is not the most important tip though, because you can still learn to be a pretty decent coder on a very average machine. This is just a small bit of advice for someone who's trying to get into this field and wondering what to buy. Since you've been watching the video this far, I have a bonus tip for you. The best way to learn a language or to code is by building projects. As soon as you're aware of the syntax of the language, try to build a simple project like a guessing game or a tic-tac-toe or maybe a very simple calculator on your own. You're going to learn a lot more with this method rather than if you had just followed some video where the instructor was just going over one by one all the syntaxes and the ways to use them. You'll also get into the habit of trying to solve your own problems by looking up things online, getting on Stack Overflow, and getting your doubts solved by strangers. And that is a very big part of software engineering. Thank you so much for watching. If you felt like this video was valuable in any sense, I would really appreciate if you press the like button. It really helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe for more related content. Stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be about intermediate tips to get better at programming. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.